I need my vape. All right, looks like we are connected. Welcome to our Sunday stream. You just give us a second to get started. We were having some connection issues. Yeah. All right. So, I hope everybody had a great weekend, week and weekend, I guess. And we had some riots and some protesting going on. That was very interesting. I thought about it after the fact that it would have been really good video. So in Florida, we have Ron DeSantis allowed us. He said, hey, if your car starts to get surrounded by these protesters, instead of letting them drag you out the car and beat the bejesus out of you, hit the gas. So the protesters weren't very happy with that whole situation. But it made an interesting No King's Day, that's for sure. So me and Nutty, we drove around. We went to the protest, and we had two of them here in Palm Coast. And we got a really big bullhorn. I have it for desensitizing the dogs when they're puppies to loud noises, so that way they act a little better, like during thunderstorms and all that stuff. All right, we should have a little bit of background animal sounds going now. So we put the bullhorn out, and we had a couple prime songs playing. We had Tom McDonald's American Flags going, and we would put the little microphone by the speaker, and that was pretty interesting. But then of course I've got a big loud mouth, so I had to jump on the thing too. And me trying to drive and scream into a bullhorn was not the greatest thing. I actually got a ticket for failure to maintain my lane because for some reason, well, I got a warning, I guess I should say. I've got the paper, but my truck just kept lurching towards these protesters, and I didn't cross the line, so I was legal and all that stuff. But they didn't stand on the road for very long. After we passed the first time, they were all in the grass, so that was really nice. But as we were passing them, they were hitting the truck with their signs and stuff like that. And a piece of paper, that's not going to really do nothing to my truck. But, if you got a big old wooden stick in it, I don't want my truck scratched up. So, I should technically be able to protect my property. I thought about this after the fact because they tried to come up to the truck and, put stuff on our bullhorn and this and that. And if I had thought about it a little bit better, we would have brought bear spray. And then as soon as they touched our vehicle, we would have just sprayed them. I'm sure that would have been legal, or I guess I should say I should check and see if that's legal, which is what I would have done. So whenever I got pulled over, and the cop was a really, really good guy and all that stuff, and he told us that he agreed with us, and that we are the counter protest. We will counter what you do. But I told him, I said, we're just trying to make sure that our voices are also heard, because this is not a grassroots thing. This is propaganda. This is they've been paid to do it. They've this Walmart friggin' chick or whatever. There's a couple of them. I should have some bullet points so I could just name names, but I don't. I don't care that much about it. What I care about is God and what God's telling me to do. And if He tells me to go out there and put on my Muslim anger and my Muslim from my Sufi, I am a Sufi, but my rage is still intact from that. So fighting for God is something that I am born and bred to do. I've been like that my whole life. I've had issues with socializing and stuff like that because of how my brain works, and because of how I hold on to all of my emotions. I think that without all your emotions, without both sides of the coin, you're nothing. And to think that you're going to suppress these feelings and these normal human traits is just silly. So, I would rather be a monster, but control that monster and release that monster when it's appropriate. And, I had a buddy who used to tell me, he was a martial artist like me. I'm a 7th degree black belt. But he used to say, when my butthole puckers, that's when I start throwing kicks, throwing hands. And I've actually incorporated that to myself, that you just know, like, they're about to swing on you, or they're like, I'm not getting out of here, I can't just walk away, something's gonna happen. So like, once I know that to be true, it's on, and honestly, and I'm not bad at all, because I can take a punch, I can get hit in the face a couple times, it's happened all my life. And so I used to bounce, and so in my formidable years, whenever I was growing up and my body and my skeleton was growing and my muscles were, learning what they needed to learn and all that stuff, basically as I was growing and going through puberty, this was, I guess, the most important time for the Sunstreak program, because that's whenever they really jumped on top of me. And I mean, I was highly medicated. I was given injections. At one point, it was twice a week, special diets, just you name it, it was probably done to me. And, that doesn't mean like I was some kind of super soldier or something like that, but I was damn sure a guinea pig. I've got really good genetics now, and, in really good shape. So I think that it had an effect on me. But I forgot my point. So anyway, so we went out to the protest and we did that thing. And whenever I rewind this, I'll know exactly what I was trying to say. I watch these things back to try to, for me to also to listen to the message. And, what I do is I just pray that God gives me the words. And I forgot to say that prayer today. So we'll do it real quick. God, I'm just a dumb fool, and I need you to help me to have the right words and to say the right things and to spread your message, and just continue to be with me and continue to shine your light on my path. Thank you. Amen. All right. So anyway, maybe I'll sound a little bit better now or something, but so anyway, so we did the protest thing. And, after we passed the first time, and so I'm getting in the microphone, and I just opened the rage, the top off the rage, and I'm sitting in there. I mean, you could feel my visceral, like, you are losers. Please step in the road. Come on, give me a reason. And, let's just say they didn't get in the road. In fact, they went from in the road, holding the line, so to say. They were standing on the line and stretching out. After that, they were all in the grass. So it did have an effect on them. And what we did is I just kept doing U-turns, like a quarter mile past the protest, and just come up and do it again. And we did that. We did that for the first 30 minutes. And then the last 30 minutes, I was actually dealing with my my ticket warning. Which, like I said, with cops, you get some good ones and you get some bad ones. And it really depends on what have they been led to believe, okay? And that's the other half of this thing, is that I'm currently going through a court case, and the nuts and bolts of the case is that on public land, there is a bush that's in question. It is completely on public land. It is not a natural bush, and I was under the impression that because it's on public land, nobody can own it. That's not my bush. If I put it there, it's now public land's bush, and so they would have to, whatever they would. It's on their land. It's their bush. So anyway, I have a neighbor and I have lots of videos to all this. I got so much paperwork and videos and stuff like that. We are going to get into it. I need to find out from my attorneys, when can I release this footage? The good thing is that all the cop videos, the body cams, they've already got these people's faces blurred out, so I should just be able to play those, like they sit. The cops' faces are not blurred out, but because they're public officials or public servants, I don't think that they need privacy. So anyway, I had been going through an ongoing battle with this chick where she was dumping her construction waste into stormwater. There was trash and bottles, and there was just all of a sudden there was all of these like ornamental type plants that were all planted all over stormwater's property. And I pay my taxes, and this is the it's probably 100 yards, maybe 50 yards from my front door, a little naturescape area. There's some flowing water, and it's a really nice secluded area that you can go kind of hang out and say a prayer and observe my religious duties, I guess. And I guess she didn't like the fact that I could go back there and pray and walk my dog and stuff like that. So she came out and she told me, and this has happened several times, that she owns like part of this ditch, that this is her land. Okay, and it's not. Her fence was put on her property line. It's very clearly marked from the center of the street. There's a washer, a nail washer that's and it shows it on your blueprint. Our house is the same way. Shows exactly where your property line goes. But she's claiming, and I think that she altered a blueprint or something like that, and she showed that to the cops or something, because there's an altered blueprint now floating around. The way that it was done is it was done where it shows that her fence is not on her property line, but instead is 3 feet set back. But then the other side of her property is 3 feet the opposite direction. So her fence is 3 foot off of her entire property. But, a professional fence company came out, and whenever they came out, I talked to them and I said, hey, are y'all doing the setback or no, we're putting this on the property line. That's how we do all of our fences. Okay, cool. I wanted to know because I put my fence is actually a shovel's width. So just the blade of the shovel off my property line. I didn't do the whole 3 feet, but I did a setback. I distracted myself because I just saw myself in there.
Sorry.
Why are you doing that? Sorry guys, that's a complete loser of me. I can't do that. I can't look at myself and just talk, and it's a huge distraction. And I thought I told her a bunch of times about it, but it is what it is. So anyway, so I've got lots of videos, and so the nuts and bolts of it is that if you can own a tree or plant that is on public land, then that's my bush. I have 8 or 10 of these mother plants, and I've got maples and oaks. And something that I really do, no exaggeration, no bullshitting, is I actually take little maple trees and oak trees, and then also like ornamentals that I've had that I try to get rid of. I try to go back to a natural landscape, but if you're going to plant something that's not local to your area, you want to put it and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand and it doesn't just start spreading babies everywhere. So my thing is that a lot of times I'll go out and I'll go take the non-natural plants out, and I'll put propagated or from babies, oaks and maples and cedars and stuff like that. The things that are supposed to naturally be here. Pines don't need no help. So like I said, I really do that. And I was always under the impression that once I put a plant down, boom, it's no longer mine. I mean, it's God's plan anyway, or God's plant anyway. I figured I ain't trying to come get it. I ain't going to come, cut it down or nothing. I put it there so it'd grow. And, I'm trying to put trees out that, generations ahead of me will maybe enjoy these oak trees and maple trees and stuff like that. So that way it's not just a pine forest. So if you can own that tree, then that's my tree. So the whole nuts and bolts of the case is that I went onto public land and on film, and I wanted to make sure that where my feet were, and this is, I don't know if it was rational or not rational, but this is how my brain had worked during the time. But because I've watched the video and I was very precise in it. So I walked up to this bush that is not on her property. It's probably right at about 15 feet. So technically you don't even own that because, the city also owns the first 15 feet of your property. But then also you only own to your property line to where you're, like in this case, it's where the fence goes. So on the outside of the fence and on public property somewhere that I had plenty of permission to be there. I was actually in contact with Stormwater, told them what was going on. I had made some complaints and some stuff like that. And like I said, we can get into the entire case and we'll play videos. This will probably be an ongoing thing where I'll just stream about this damn thing for the next 10 years if necessary. I mean, not a lot of people watch my stuff anyway, so I really, I'm allowed to repeat myself until I get a steady audience. I'm not worried about repeating myself because what I'm saying is truthful and it needs to be heard by the masses. God is great. Only pray to God. Observe the Sabbath. Your nutrition and all that stuff has been jacked from you. Your medical has been jacked from you. These are the things that we need to all improve and do better with. And, so be healthy, be happy, worship God, and don't get into all the other bullcrap. So anyway, because you can own the plants, it's my plant. I prayed on it. God said, yes, it's mine. The way my brain works, I dump so much information. I can't remember what year it is, much less what day of the week it is. And then, if I don't have some kind of reminder that goes off in my phone, I ain't trying to. So it looks like it's a shovel width away from the property line. And I remember that I had some plants that were those. There's just a little wiggle bush. I have a whole line of wiggle bushes right on the edge of my property. So I think it could be my bush. And during the time, I thought it was Stormwater's bush because it's on their property. But now, after the fact, retrospect, I think that the reason that I wasn't worried about it and being filmed kicking a bush, okay, so I walked up and on film, I kicked the bush like 4 times, and I was saying public property, okay? Like I said, this was an ongoing dispute where she thinks that she can do whatever she wants. She thinks that she owns the property. She trespassed me from her property whenever I was on the public property. The cops had told her that she needed to get a survey done and figure out where her property starts and ends. She never did that. Anyway, I had another really good point. But like I said, she lies about where her property line is. I paid for a guy off of Craigslist to come out, and he did a metal detector, and he found the back of the property. And then, like I said, the front is very easy to find because it's just a nail with a big washer and some numbers stamped on it that's right in the center of the road. So he did the thing, string line, boom, it's right up against the fence. I mean, the string line is perfectly on the fence. So the fence company did a good job. But clear as day, you can see that these bushes, because there's 4 that are in question. There's the one that I am saying is my bush, and then there's 3 more that were actually, so there's the one that I say is mine, is about 1.5 feet off of her property line, and then the other 3 are about 1 foot off of her property line. So I've got a good 18 inches to play with, okay? So, and then like I said, I walked up and, not from her property, but from Stormwater's property, and I kicked a bush, okay? Which is not on her property, so I never broke the plane of her property. But they arrested me, and they tried to say that I carry a kirpan. It's a religious tool that is a conversation starter. It's got a big wooden handle, and they tried to say that I broke the law while carrying a weapon. Okay, well, they ended up dropping the weapon charge, but she had called the sheriff's department, and she asked for somebody by name. I've got their name and all that stuff. And do you remember whenever I donated money or something like that to your cause? I need to call in a favor now. This guy is out of control. Okay, I'm an ordained minister. I could give a fuck. Oh, I just want to be left alone. Let me worship my God in peace. Okay. So anyway, so I think that's why they arrested me and did all that stuff, because she's calling in. I didn't know that you could do that legally either. But we'll get to the bottom of all this. We are just. If I have to throw $100,000 into attorneys to get this remedied, I'll do that. I don't care, because I'm not going to be some kind of fool who just said, oh well she said this, and she can't prove shit. Okay, she can't. I never went on your property. Prove that this is not my bush. Prove it. Okay. I thought that because it's on public property, it couldn't be mine. But if you can say it's yours, then I can say it's mine. I have receipts for plants. I have, I have the mother plants on my property. I have, lots of ways, because I know for sure, without a doubt, no hesitation, that I have put plants on public land. Okay, I have went out there and I've planted some oaks and some maples and some other things. And I need to plead the fifth whenever it comes to stuff like that, because I don't know what the legalities of that is. But also, are they my plants if they come from my mother's? Because I've got a maple tree that about every spring I end up with, 30 little baby maples in my ditch. And that's usually where I, scoop those up and I put them in little containers, and then I go put those in shaded areas and stuff like that. So that's how I get my maples. But so all of these, I don't know how far does maple trees spread. I mean, we're talking about 100 yards. You don't think that a maple tree that's 100 foot tall can spread its offspring 100 yards? And then if I'm allowed to own that came from my mother plant, so that's my tree apparently. But like I said, I always figured that because it's on public land, that's now public's property. That's their tree. They need to deal with it. I can't go in there and do that. That was So like I said, I thought that you had to just follow the law, and if you lie to the cops, like how she tries to say that she owns 3 foot of this naturescape area, stormwater's property, how can she own it? So anyway, so I'm very irritated by the situation, and I'm not asking for anybody's help or nothing like that. I'm a big boy. I'll take care of this. I saved some nuts for a rainy day, so I've got a little nest egg that I can of cash that I can deal with this stuff. For situations like this, and I am also myself. And really, Nutty is the legal guru, I guess. We both worked for legal support. One of my sisters owned a company that she started a company because of my career, and so we did a lot of legal support, and she did a lot, process serving and all that kind of stuff, and surveillance and whatever, some stuff that you can talk about, some stuff that you can't talk about. So anyway, she knows a lot of lawyers. She knows a lot of judges. Okay, we didn't call the sheriff's department and say, "Hey, Jody Jackaloo, you remember how I donated some money to you? I'm calling in a favor." I figured that'd be illegal as fuck, and this chick who the favor was called on is going to have to answer for that. It's in the we did a Freedom of Information Act release, and so we've actually got her asking on the 911 phone calls about and she was calling the police at the time. Okay, this chick has called the police. I don't know the exact number, but I think it's 22 times on me. Okay, and then the final one. She called on her son, or on her husband's son. I think his name is Jaron. I don't know if he's mentally disabled or anything like that, but she had him Baker acted. And then on top of that, and from the reading of this Freedom of Information stuff, that she called, whenever she called the police, she said, "Oh, he's got a weapon in his backpack, and he's got drugs in his backpack, and so the cops, they came out and they ended up Baker acting him. I don't know if they found any drugs. It doesn't say in the police reports that there was any drugs found, or that there was a weapon, but that's the exact same thing that she did to me, where she wanted to get everybody all hot and bothered and worked up. I mean, when these cops showed up, there was probably 15 cop cars. I mean, lights and sirens, and just friggin', they showed up. I think their guns were drawn. Like I said, I'm Asperger's autistic. I really do just try to keep to myself. I stay in my own little world. It's me and God, and then I got my dogs, and I got my old lady. And I'm happy with that. I don't need to worry about anything else. I'm a simple man. I got a simple life. I spread the gospel, a couple times a week, and try to, introduce people, start getting people to talk to God. And that is my life. That is my everyday life. That's all I do. I don't know. I'm so irritated with this situation, because they're trying to steal my religion from me. They're trying to tell me, okay, they sent me a plea deal thing. Okay, now remember, all this is I kicked a tree that's on public property 3 times. You can't even prove that it was damaged. There's no picture of any damage, okay? So I kicked this tree. Oh, you're so, and you said public property like 6 times. Or 3 times, I think. I have to watch the videos. My memory is all screwed up because I've been watching all the videos and stuff. But like I said, not on her land, never broke, never trespassed. But they arrested me for trespassing on public property that I had permission to be on, and I kicked what is now my tree. Okay. Because like I said, I didn't think you could own something that was on public property, so of course I didn't claim that as mine. I'm not a fucking moron, like really? How the hell could I own something? That's like me putting a tree on somebody else's property and being like, no, that's my tree. It's on my land. How's that your tree on my land? But anyway, like I said, it is what it is. We've got a court case coming up in a couple days. And then, the hard thing is that how do you prove that? Because that's the thing, that they need to prove where the property line starts and stops. Why is that my burden? Why do I have to say, no, your property starts and stops here? Cops already told her that she was supposed to do that. And then if you're just going to lie to cops and be like, no, I own 3 feet into here. Look what I made. Look at this. Look, I made this. It says I own 3 feet. You are a liar, bitch. You are a blasphemer. You are a demon. You are a rat. So we'll see what happens. I know that you're supposed to just pray to God and let Him handle your stuff. Surrender to Him. I'm trying, but I'm also a Sufi. So, as a Sufi, we're supposed to fight back. We're supposed to, God empowered us to defend Him and to defend our faith and to do what it takes. I'm saying that wrong. So anyway, all right. So that's our weekend review. Like I said, I have lots of videos. I don't know what I'm supposed to say, what I'm not supposed to say as far as this case. I am going to put I'm going to make videos, and I'm going to show. I've got proof of everything. I've got receipts. I've got just all of it. In addition to that, not to mention, like once this started happening, she started calling, harassing my phone, doing it from all these different numbers and stuff like that. And it's just, complete menopausal insanity behavior. She is in that age. I think her hormones are all jacked up. I think that she's going crazy. She's attempted to sue 4 different people in the last couple years. She's called the police. I think it's 37 times since she's been living. She is not a Florida native. She's one of these transplants from a different state from just a couple years ago. And now she brought her politics here to Florida. She brought her politics here to my street, and she's just lying. She's a blasphemer, and God has a special place for her. She's a complete, and she's one of those fake Christians. Whenever you jump on her Facebook, it's oh God bless you for this. Blah, 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 blah. This bitch ain't never been to church. She ain't never fucking prayed in her life. She is, completely full of shit. So that it's one thing to be like, no, I'm not really religious, but to try to use that as a tool. My God is not a fucking tool. He's not a purse. He is not an accessory. It is either all or none. And that's the way it is. So like I said, she's anti-religious. So the reason I keep saying that she's harping on my religion is that they tried to give me a plea deal that said that I have to go to anger management. Okay, I didn't threaten nobody. I didn't whip anybody's ass. I'm a 7th degree black belt. Okay, I went and kicked a bush that is on public property. Okay, so and I'm supposed to give up all my weapons indefinitely. So they're going to take away my Second Amendment right. So I assume that weapons means my guns, okay, or my knives, or how about my sticks? How about my rocks? My rocks that are in my front yard are also weapons for me. Do I have to give up all my rocks? Do I have to give up all of my sticks and staffs? Do I have to give up all my martial arts weapons? Do I have to give up all my swords and knives? And I have to give up all this stuff? Why? Because I kicked a fucking bush that you can't even prove that the city owns? So I kicked the city's bush, and then you got a private citizen fucking having me arrested for it. Great. So we'll see how it happens. Like I said, I'd like to be able to film the actual, because I think this is probably going to go to trial. But I'd like to maybe be able to film it, maybe do it live or something. I'll find out the legalities of all that stuff. And, I do have a court thing where I'm supposed to go talk to the judge about this. What's that thing called that they're about to do? Okay, we're doing a docket sounding. I think it's on Thursday, and I think we're gonna bring up the fact of one. I didn't know that I could even claim that that's my tree. So yeah, it's my tree. I prayed on it. God said, yeah, it's mine. Okay, cool, it's mine then. All right. I didn't know that was a thing that you could own something on somebody else's property. So that's why I never considered that it was mine or not. Brain fart, it's completely gone. So like I said, I apologize. I should really be working off of a sheet. I am Asperger's autistic. My brain, once it moves on, it's gone. So but anyway, like I said, the law is not a buffet. You cannot pick and choose what you want to do. You cannot choose the laws that you want to follow and the ones that you cannot. And it is what it is. But like I said, don't bow down to these demon rats. Don't give in. Don't. You have to fight back. You have to protect the kids. You have to stand up for yourself. I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees, and that's just the way I am, and that's the way that God made me. So I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. I am fallible. I am human, but I try. And I was always a rule follower. And I thought that, hey, just everybody, if this is where your property ends, this is where you don't dare put something on somebody else's property. So, which the other person who I have issues with, they've done the same thing. I'll get some videos of that. I don't have that yet, but I mean, they're 3 or 4 feet onto the other property. I mean, it's really funny. So, but it's just a single fence panel, so it could be easily fixed. But I wouldn't even dream of doing that. So anyway, all right. So let's do a ceremonial fire, and we'll go from there. Ceremonial fire. Look, I got a boom mic now. Yeah. Hey, everybody, I got a big old boom mic. I just have a boom now for it, really, because I already had the mic. Mm-hmm. And all I'm doing is I'm just praying a little simple, like, Lord, thank you for the week. Thank you for all the many blessings that we share. Continue to allow me to walk in your path. Okay, so walk in your light. So, amen. Very simple. You don't have to and for a long time, I was trying to figure out, because I did the same thing where I was like, our Lord that is in heaven, hallowed be his name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. I was going to do that whole thing, but why? Why not just, go, God, thank you. All glory to you. Amen. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. All right. So what I was thinking is, I could end right now. End YouTube. Give them just a weekend review and me kind of talking, and then do the Facebook as the first 3 books. Okay. You think? Because if it's half an hour, you know what I mean? Like, God doesn't care. All he wants me to do is just put the message out there. So he doesn't really care how long it takes or none of that stuff. So yeah. So observe the Sabbath. Say a prayer. Observe the Sabbath, say a prayer, do your godly duty, go to church. What is church? 2 or more people praying together outside with nature. Okay, and to be honest, you could probably take a little house plant and 2 people hold hands above that house plant, and that would be going to church. So in nature, pray together. All right, YouTube. I'm gonna stop you because I don't want to get copyright things, but I have to have music. I'm autistic. I need to, I need white noise going. Otherwise, I'm, looking for what my attention needs to go. All right. God bless y'all.